Okay, welcome back everybody to Coffee and Art in the Morning. I'm Dede. Thanks everybody for being here. And thanks for having such a good turnout this morning on a Monday morning. Yeah, I got my hot coffee, keep my voice going. So we've already done a couple other segments. Well, we did our drawing for the YouTube giveaway. We did a Happy Mail book, Happy Mail from Kelly. And now I've been requested to work in the faux ledger, fairy tale, whatever we feel like doing in it. But kind of, I bought this enchanted fairy tale book to kind of use in it. But I also like the Big Monster book from Juliet Crane. And then the other book that we used last week was, where is it? If I can put my hand on it, guys. I think it was this one. I'm not sure. I think this is the other one that we're using. The Enchanted Fairies. So any of these that have like a fairy tale or some kind of theme like that. This is the Enchanted Fairies workbook. We got the coloring book Big Monster from Juliet Crane, and then I got this Creative Haven one that's still got. I got more napkins in there that are already separated. And thanks, Anita. Everybody loves a napkin journal. I know everybody loves a napkin journal. We've done them before. A few years ago we did the big 12 by 12 ones, but it's like people really like the napkins. Well, I hope so because I sent out so many napkins. Please use them. No, Peggy. No, we just did a bunch of napkins sending out the last couple weeks. Y'all are free to do napkin swaps. Uh, so anyway, so I still have a few napkins in here, some cutouts that we did last time, just bits of stuff for different. Let's take this rubber band off here. So I will go ahead and show you how to glue down, a napkin. Again, when I show these things, it's not like I don't think y'all know how to glue, take a napkin apart, or anything like that. I just talk out the process. So if I'm taking a napkin apart, I'm telling you step by step what I'm thinking. It's not like I think y'all can't figure stuff out. um, I don't use Mod Podge because I have found that it sticks. It stays sticky. And especially in a journal, if you don't let it, I don't even bother with it anymore. So I've had pages literally glued together with Mod Podge. I don't even own any Mod Podge. But if you guys have great success with it, use whatever you have. I personally use Golden Matte Medium. That's probably my most expensive investment in one type of art supply there is. Although Golden did send me some a few years ago, which is, pretty much long gone. I might have one jar sitting around somewhere, but I buy it. I buy it, buy the big jar. And then what I do is I take the jar and I pour it into a dish washer. Hang on, guys. I froze for a second. I think it's just mail coming in. Hang on, guys. There it goes. It done froze. In a dish soap bottle so that you can squeeze out what you want. So anyway, yeah, it's not sponsored or anything by Golden. It's just my personal preference for Golden. I love Golden Matte Medium. Uh, yeah, you do risk your page sticking together with Mod Podge. I found, again, I'm sure there's people that know that you can wax pages, baby powder them, all kinds of techniques for them not to stick. Way too much trouble for me. So, yeah, thanks. Yeah, that's right, Julie. Anyway, so it's just that's just my preference. Again, I'm not being sponsored by them or anything like that. So I will glue down a napkin in the little day book here. This was a like a day book that my sister sent me in 2009 that I never used as a day book, but it looks like a faux. It's a faux leather ledger. That's hard to say in both together. Uh, yeah, that's right, Carrie. If you can get golden, get golden. Use coupons. Michaels and Hobby Lobby will take a 40% off coupon. There. When y'all know when I first started streaming, that I would, if I had a haul video, it would be one jar of golden matte medium. That would be my haul. Um, okay, y'all can email each other, Kimmer, and decide if y'all want to do that. That's fine. I won't be in any. I'm not going to be in any napkin swaps. I'm saying I sent out my fair share in the last 2 weeks of napkin swaps. Okay, so I'm going to show you what we've done again. I'll show you again what we've done in here. A lot of them just have napkins. Some edge to edge. Some just bits. Here's one of the pages that we did with one of the little birds out of one of the Creative Haven, or the nature, I think it was a nature color book. And then the girl here was out of the Juliet Crane. And it just ended right about there. And then we painted in the rest of it. That's napkins up there. This is napkins here. Color book page, color book page. Two different color books. So you can mix and match. Remember, you're the boss of your color book and you're the boss of your art journal. If y'all have any questions, put them in caps. I know you're talking to me. And if you're watching this recording, it's a live show on ustream.tv. And I just upload to YouTube after the show is over. No editing, no condensing or whatever. No speed it up. But I have been trying to do them in hour segments because of the upload process or I should say from the download process from Ustream to my computer. I've had a couple hung up. So I just trying to do a couple of, maybe an hour, a little bit over an hour each segment. And it seems so far to work. So I've been breaking them up. So sometimes you're going to have 2 parts on a project, or sometimes 3 parts on a project. But I try to put the same thumbnail on every part so you know where the next part is. It's easy to spot that next part. I don't want them all hodgepodge all over the place where you can't find the next segment. So, yeah, Tuesday morning has a lot of good napkins. If you are looking, or even like Party City, or whatever party store, any place that they sell, probably Hallmark probably has some nice napkins. Any place that, and you can just, I'll show you how to glue one down here in a minute. So thanks everybody for being here. Let me just keep flipping here where I can show you just different, and we paint them out. We paint the edges out. So they're kind of made into like a little scene, a little vignette. Hi, Pam. Yeah, all our fibs, friends in the box. So you can just see they're just it's like a starter page, right? It's like a starter page for whatever else you want to do on it. This was already in the book. There's a few pages like this, maybe every, because it is a yearly book, maybe every, 20 page, I don't know. There's like a little quote, a little. Oh, it's every season. So there's a spring, summer, fall, and winter. So it's every 4 of them in here. Carrie's on a map napkins. Yeah. So these are just some of the ones that I've glued in different ways, different stages. This little butterfly was already in the book. See, it had a little butterfly on every page. Here's a page where I have free to add some more. I've got a couple, not many. I've pretty much filled up or put a napkin on pretty much every page. There's again, this is the summer section. Yeah, Dollar Tree. Yeah, Angie Bell saying always check your Dollar Tree for gorgeous napkins. So, yeah. And y'all watch Angie Bell's YouTube. She's got some good, she always has good hauls and buys and good deals. And plus she's, does awesome art too. So, little butterfly. So here's a few pages right here in the middle. Maybe about 5, 6, maybe 10 that I still have left to put napkins on. And again, if you're going to do any kind of magazine journal, any kind of journal where you're doing a lot of collage, mixed media, gluing, or painting, or collaging, it's best if you do some in the front, some in the back, some in the middle. It will keep your spine from warping if you do that. It's no guarantee your spine won't warp, and it's going to depend on the book, of course. But it will be less apt to happen if you kind of rotate, the areas of the book that you glue things in, rather than just going straight from front to back. Because when you go straight from front to back, the spine starts to do this, Yeah, that would be real ones. Hi, Susan, by the way. So you can see we just have all different bits for them to live in. And so you can see, here's the other page that we did, and I did finish this. We used the flowers from one. The flower and the bird was from the nature color book, and then the fairy, I think she was out, I don't know if she was out of this one or out of this one, I don't remember. I think she was out of this one. And we cut her out, we fussy cut her out and put her on top of a flower here that we colored. So, and it's also got stickles on it. So stickles, a little bit in her wings. Let's see if I can get it to kind of, if I tilt it, you can see the color there. Yeah, flashed out again. There. See, that's the true color right there. I have the camera setting up a little lighter. Otherwise, it gets too dark and it looks real, kind of gloomy. So I have the light set up so it does flash things out a little bit, but at the same time, it gives the project, you can see it better rather than too dark. This book? I'm sorry, Terry. Are you talking about this book? This day book? Terry said this very book is over 200 on Amazon used. Well, I've had it since 2009 and never used it, but it doesn't have to be this kind of book, guys. It can be trust me, it can be a composition book. I have tons of composition glue books. And by the time you get glue, or I should say matte medium, by the time you get matte medium, paint, and everything else on it, the pages are thick. They thicken up, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and I'll go ahead and just show you. I'm just going to open it here to one of the blank pages, and we'll do a little bit of a glue right here. But I did have someone request to see the art cards I worked on over the weekend. And again, I'm trying to take the time to use my little art cards to turn into paintings. I showed you some of the, here, let me pull that one back out again. This is how, let me get a couple of samples here, guys. Where's my sample? There's another one sitting here somewhere, but I cannot find it. So I'll just use this one. Okay. So, years ago, well, I've done it off and on, but I did some on stream when I first started streaming, which those are not on YouTube. My YouTube's only been uploaded for about 1.5 years, maybe going on 2 years now. So, but I've been streaming for almost 6 years. I think it'll be 6 years in November. I think Julie Topaz kept track of me. I think I started in November 2010 streaming. And so I used to do things like I would do larger collages like this. This is a mixed media collage, like an art journal type page, 8x10, thereabout. And thanks, Silver. And I would take, this is like a mixed media collage. So in other words, this bird, this piece of watch, this little watch band part here, and some of these little trees are collage. The rest is paint, right? But I would take that as an inspiration and turn them into paintings on canvas board. So this is, and I wrote it on the back because I never could remember, 16 by 12. This is a 16 by 12 canvas board painting based off of my mixed media collage. So I would, and I changed things up. Like instead of woods back there, I wanted it to look like a heart. You know, I would change that. You can see I changed the perspective of this to make it look like more like a bridge. And so you can see that, hopefully, I know it flashes out. See if you want to swap. Okay, yeah, there you go, Kimber. So then I would just take elements of it, and I don't try to necessarily copy exact. Like you can see, look at the difference in the sky there, this planet, you know. I turned the more from the water to mountains. So I change it up just however I want it to be. But I would use my collage as a reference or as a sketch for a painting. So I haven't done these for quite a while. This was the last one, I think. This was from 2013, as far as a full-on big, canvas board painting, because I got busy with other things. So then, I just really started making a lot of smaller art cards like this size rather than the 8 by 10. Although I did make a couple other ones. Where's my sample? So here I took one of my cards. I kept this one as a sample for you guys. So I took one of my art cards, which is mixed media. It's got paint, it's got collage, it's got, paint pen, it's got paint. That's paint right there. And I use this as an inspiration. Thanks, guys. I'd use this as an inspiration. And so here's one that's 8 by 10. So you can see I've changed it up quite a bit to make the composition fit better what I want it to be. I've added other stars, I've added more water, I've changed the stars around, but this is all paint. So I've gone from a collage sketch to a full painting, right? I did not like feathers right here. It looked too flat to me. It didn't have enough dimension. It's great on my little art card. Don't get me wrong. I love these. But I wanted to make it more dimensional, more. So I change a lot of things up when I go from the art card to the painting. I wanted to turn this into an iceberg rather than just a mountain. So there's little things like that. Yeah. But I do plan on selling some of these. However, this was just a bigger test one. I have the card. I may have given this one away. So I give the art cards away. I take photographs of them. So I have all the original. I've got photographs of all of them. So before I give them away, but I'm using matte board. It's just 5 by 7 matte board to do the paintings on. So this was another one based on a smaller art card. I can't put my hand on this particular art card right now. I might have given it away. So then I'll turn this into a painting. So this is all painting, and I just change it to make it whatever composition I want. So you can kind of see I wanted an ice crystal face on here. I did my own planets and whatever. I put some landscape, but this is all paint. So there's no collaging in these, all right? Just so y'all can kind of tell the difference between what I'm doing. All right, so here's some of the art cards I did over the weekend because I'm backed up with requests for art cards. So I'll show you the ones that I did this weekend. Again, I plan on turning these into 5 by 7 or maybe a little larger, 8 by 10, 5 by 7 or 8 by 10, depending on what I feel like. So these are some of the cards that I did over the weekend. So I'll just kind of let y'all look at them. I wish it, could get a little, I don't want to darken it too much though, but they're really there. They're really quite dark. But again, I keep my camera light up quite bright. Plus I have a whole bunch of lights going on around me. So these are just these are the cards that I give away. I don't want it to flash out. I know it gets, whoops, I know it gets a little out of focus because I've got them so close, but I think you get the idea. They're all a little different. And I know people like me to add people to them. This batch doesn't have people in them. I personally, when I do my own, I don't want to say style, but my own vision, I usually very rarely have people in them, but I get requests, oh, put some people in them. So I'll throw some people in them every now and then. But these don't have people in them. I think one has a skull, but that's it. So there we go. There's a little bit better color. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Peggy Sue. So I'll turn these into paintings, whether 5x7 or 8x10. You see, I love adding my water, my mist, stars, space. So. And there's the one with the skull. So those are the 21, 22, however many I did over the weekend. And yeah, Carrie said, show us how you do one of the paintings. So I might do that later. Thanks, guys. So there we go. There's that. All right, so let's go back to doing our art journal page. Our napkin page. So let me get a thing to get a glue brush. Hang on, guys. Try not to bump the camera here. Get a glue brush. And let's see, I need a card. Although when you scrape anything with a hotel card key or old credit card or whatever, with napkins you got to be a little more gentler, because if you try to scrape too much, you'll tear the napkin when it's wet. So when I'm doing this napkin journaling, it's a little bit more of a delicate. Let me turn this other light on here. It might help a little. Look around, make sure I got all 6 lamps on. Yeah, I did that one. That was just a little different, the loopy one. Yeah. All right, so I'm first going to show you where I'm going to take just do a napkin just to show you how I do one. I've already got them. Well, let me take one apart here. Let's go and do the sunflower. That's a pretty one here. I don't think I have a sunflower in here yet. If I do, I don't remember it. So Jean, who is where Music Scrap Jean is the one that told me about this, and again, I think she said she got it from somewhere else. Taking a piece of double-sided tape. It doesn't have to be double-sided, but it's easier to stick to your finger in a napkin. And if you take a piece of double-sided tape and put it on the napkin, you can separate the napkins from the backing, right, really easily. And there's usually 2 layers, so that was layer 1. Okay, let me get another piece of tape. Okay, and if you put it on the napkin and just pull it apart, even if it rips the backing, you gotta just kind of grab it. Okay, so now I'm going to pull apart the second layer. The reason you want to pull these layers off is because otherwise they're not going to glue down well. The layers will mess up the gluing. So just take off those layers. Okay, one other thing right now is you want to try to start out with the light color, like this is like off-white. But you want to start with off-white or white. This is a Terry Trouble napkin. Oh, good. Okay. You want to start out with a white or off-white background, because this is how it looks on a nice bright surface. If you try to start your napkin gluing on a pre-painted page, especially if it's a dark color, look at the difference in the way the napkin looks on dark or on white. See how much vibrant this is? Nothing wrong with this if you want a dark, muted image. But if you want this bright image like this, you can't glue it onto a dark background because this is what happens. See the difference between the two? Yeah, it's showing up. Okay. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just cut this in half. And we're just going to go ahead and just use this much of it right across here. And if you don't want a border, you can cut that off. You can keep the border on there. You can cut around it. You can do whatever bit you want. I end up painting out everything. Welcome back, Juju. I end up painting the background and things out anyway, so it doesn't really matter to me if something's on a napkin that I don't like. I'll just paint over it. This almost fits exactly on the page. And because the napkins is very thin, I don't mind putting it in the spine. If this was any other kind of paper, a magazine image, a calendar, something, I would cut it in the middle so that you're not gluing over the spine. Because if you glue over the spine with a thick paper, it's going to start warping your spine, right? But a thin napkin like this, it's, it's okay. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just take some matte medium, and I use golden matte medium. I just put it in a dish soap bottle. Thanks, Sunset Carol, for that tip. I always try to give her a shout out for that, just like I do the double-sided tape napkin back removal tip from Jean. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and put some on here. Most of the time, I'll just squeeze it out in a palette or something, but I'm just going to go ahead and put it right on here. And just put a nice layer. Okay. And with the napkin, you really only have one shot to lay it down. It's not like some papers you can move them around. You got kind of one shot to lay down a napkin because they're going to tear, right? All right, so then I'm just going to put a little bit more over the top and just glue it down. And that's really all there is to it. If you see, some wrinkles, which you're going to get wrinkles in a napkin. It doesn't bother me. Now, be gentle with your brush because you'll tear. A napkin is easy to tear. Not that it bothers me too much because I add a lot of paint, so you just a little tear there. If you use a card to smooth it out, make sure the card is really flat, not like on the edge because you'll rip it. But if you use the flat of the card, you're probably going to be okay. Okay, let me put a little more on this side. Oop, that's a little much, but oh well. So I'm just going to coat it with a matte medium. Now, the thing of another reason I like the golden matte medium, not necessarily just in the napkin journal, because it's just, I like my golden matte medium, is because when I do my art cards and they're coated with the matte medium, you can put paint on over it and move paint around. So in other words, on the little art cards here, like if I put paint down on, now these are already varnished. I've already varnished. Varnishing is a separate process after the fact. I don't varnish these napkin journals and this kind of thing. I do have one, well actually I have two, but the same system, where I varnish pages in my mixed media art journal, but I mostly save the varnishing process for my art cards and paintings. Okay, and I use the Delta Ceram Coat Gloss Interior Exterior Varnish. You can get it at Michael's or Hobby Lobby. Delta Ceram Coat Gloss Exterior Interior Varnish. Okay, it's water-based, so it washes right off your hands. So that's the kind of varnish I use. But when you have matte medium over your collage bits, then when you put paint on it, you can move it around and wipe it off with a baby wipe. Especially if you're using, like, say, a little bit of this kind of paper, a little from a magazine, a little bit from a calendar, a little bit from a book. All the papers are going to react differently to the paint. But if it's coated with the matte medium, you can do it's just like a nice new surface to put your paint on. Know what I mean, Vern? Okay, so yeah, there we go. That's all I'm going to do with that. All right, so now let me put I have a bunch of brushes. These are the only brushes that I keep in water, are my glue brushes. Okay, so I'm going to just put that back in the water for now. Take a sip of coffee and heat gun this, baby. Yes, thank you, Silver. That's right. And thanks everybody for being here. All right, so I'm going to heat gun this dry. And even with the matte medium, you want to make sure your pages are dry before you close the book. Because if I close this book right now, it's going to glue those pages together. You want to make sure it's dry. If you're not sure it's dry, put a piece of wax paper between it until it is 100% dry. Welcome back, Orla. Yeah, Orla's was typing from the hospital. There's a couple girls in the hospital typing to us this morning. So thanks everybody for watching in their waiting rooms and wherever else. Thanks for being here, guys. Oh, good, Carrie. I'm glad the van made it to the shop. So I just want to make sure this is really dry here. And these pages are thin. This is thin page. It's thin. You can do the same process in a composition book. Good, Orla. It takes a little longer to dry a napkin because, you know, it is more like fabric-y or whatever you want to call it, so it does take a little bit more. So maybe we'll use this page as our inspiration page. So then a couple other things, and I repeat. I know if you watch me do any of these processes, I repeat the same thing, but we're doing the same processes, so I repeat the same thing out loud because I just talk out what we're doing. So if we want to take, let's just look in the fairies here. Let's look for maybe an elf or something else besides a fairy. Let's do, she's cute, a little pixie or an elf. And there's all different kinds of fairyland type characters in here. I wanted to find something a little bigger. Let's go with this, the toddler elf on the mushroom. All right, two things. One is you don't want to cut it out and glue it down and then try to color it, especially if you're going to use any kind of pencil or anything like that, because this is texture. And that's true of any kind of mixed media journal you're working in. If you've cut out collage bits or whatever, you know, whatever you've cut out and put it on a mixed media collage thing, if you have, it's lumpy and bumpy, and if you try to take this out, if you try to glue this on and then color, you're going to be coloring, the texture of the napkin is going to be coming through. So it's best if you color on something. Let me get something smaller here. It's best if you color on something and then cut it out and then glue it on. Okay? So yeah, I just talk out my process, and if we're doing a project we've done the same type of technique before, you don't forget it after you've watched about 10 of my shows. It's going to be ingrained in you how I cut and glue and paste and all that, right? And again, it's not because I don't think you know how to glue or cut or paste. I just talk it out loud, right? I just talk it out loud. So I think what we're going to do, let me see here. Let's kind of just move this over. The other benefit too of doing it this way, is you can go through here and decide what page you want them on. I mean, I kind of like the sunflowers, but you know, you can always flip through, see what other pages you like, and you can color coordinate your coloring of your color book image. It doesn't have to be a color book image. It could be, you know, it could be like the tiger out of the book that Kelly sent, the tigers. It can be anything. I just have kind of sort of designated this book as a fairy tale type of imagery. Um, but it doesn't have to be a color book page. But using a color book page is a way for you to use some of your color book imagery. If you feel like, oh my gosh, I can't just tear something out of a book. Well, if you're going to put it in your art journal, then make a copy of it to color and cut out and put in your art journal. If it freaks you out, I personally will use the originals as much as possible. There are some books like that are story related, like the Sherlock Holmes one, or something like that, that is a story in itself. It doesn't really, it's not conducive to taking a page out of the middle of the story. Something like that I won't tear up. But if it's just a regular old color book, like that, we've used the big monster book here, these Juliet Crane images, or the fairy tale ones, whatever, then I will just tear them out and use the originals. You watched one of my shows from a year ago, and it was like the ones you watch now. Yeah, exactly. Exactly, Peggy Sue. It's the same process. It hasn't changed. Maybe we've tweaked a few things over the years, but you know, it's the same thing. And yeah, so but it's different. We use different things, right? Now we're using color book pages more than just images, right? And it is a way for you to use your color book imagery in more than just coloring a page in a book and just putting the book away or flipping through that book. Now, I do have to say, in my bicycle book, I do plan on coloring that from cover to cover. There's a couple books that eventually I would like to color from cover to cover. The bicycle book is one of them. All right, so again, you can do this in multiple ways. You can use whatever things you want to color with. A couple things on that, though. Let me take a sip of coffee. I like to use watered down acrylic paint, and I just use craft paint. I like to use it as a wash, as a base for the larger elements on a color book page. You don't have to do that. If it's very small things, just use your gel pens, your pencils, your markers, or whatever. Especially since you've torn it out, you don't have to worry about what's going to go through to the other side. Use Copics or whatever. Hi and bye, Lynn. It was a napkin journal you watched from a year ago? Yeah. Thanks, Peggy. And so I like doing washes. Let me move my iPad out of the way. I like doing washes because it gives your paper a little bit of tooth. You have to not go crazy on the water though. And if you want to keep adding washes of color, like if you want to add depth to your watercolor or watered down washes of acrylic paint, you've got to dry in between. These papers are not meant to get wet, right? So you want to make sure you dry in between. If you don't, you're either going to put a hole through your paper or you're just going to pill the paper up until it's mush. So you have to dry in between any kind of layering you want to do. Hey, Sharon, anybody else? Sharon colors like a boss. I love saying that, Sharon. That's awesome. Sharon colors like a boss because we're the boss of our color book pages and our art journals, right? The other thing is, as you know, I like to use the varnish on my art cards. I use the varnish on the art cards, and sometimes in certain, like the Dilutions journal, I have a couple that are set aside for varnishing the final pages. However, if you're going to be doing putting anything on here that's going to move with water, Dilutions paint, Neo Color 2, watercolor markers, anything like that. Okay, if you're going to use anything like that, you can't varnish it unless you go outside, spray it, seal it, a process to keep it from being water, to make it waterproof. Because if I glued this down and try to put and use like Neo Color 2 water, or say Eileen's watercolor markers, the Zig Kuretake ones, if I did that and tried to varnish it, it would move. It would move the watercolor. So be aware, especially in any kind of mixed media project you're doing, of what you're putting on your page, because it will move if you varnish it. Okay? I try to give that disclaimer. I don't want anybody emailing me, so I did your process and everything just smeared away. You've been warned. Okay, so you got confused about layering. I must have missed something, Sarah O. Not knowing, well, I'm trying to keep, I don't see anything in caps, so I guess y'all are just talking amongst yourself. If you have any questions, put them in caps. Um, Okay, so let's say I want to use this little fella. It might be good because he kind of looks like a little elf. Maybe we'll do some olive greens, his little outfit in greens or something. It's on a little mushroom. I just picked it at random, and I'm just picking this page at random. So we're going to make it work. If it doesn't work, then the Crayola markers will move. Yes, yes, the Crayola are just water-based markers. They're just kids' watercolor markers. Yeah. Don't, can't be varnishing over that. Anything that's water based, it'll, and if you're not sure, test it. And you have to test your papers too, because every paper and every color book is going to be different. Some things you could do a watercolor marker on and it just sits right there. Some it'll bleed right out. You need to test. Every color book is different. I'm telling you. Every paper in a color book is different. So, even if it doesn't turn out, then you'll, like our big poster we did last week of the mermaid coming through. I thought we just went way over the top. We had it too much. We didn't know when to stop. I didn't know when to stop, but we just kept on going. So if you watch that video and you think to yourself, oh, she should have stopped right there, then you know where the stopping point should have been and where you need to think about it when you're doing a project. Oh, I know, Dede went a little too far right there. Let's not go any farther right there. You see what I'm saying? So it doesn't bother me if something turns out. Most things do turn out. We make it work usually. We have the Tim Gunn, fighting spirit, make it work. But sometimes it doesn't, and that's okay. We're having fun, we're hanging out, we're chatting, and all that. So yeah. Live chat's the only place we can chat in caps and no one thinks we're shouting. That's true, Peggy Sue. Yeah. So, yeah. So we kind of reserve caps here for talking to the streamer. Most of us that stream on Ustream do that. If you put it in caps, we know that you're talking to the. Yeah, you like to help me, Rhonda? The kelp me, Rhonda? Yeah. All right, so let's get crack-a-lacking because this is already 45 minutes in, so we're already going to have to go into a part two. So, which is okay. I plan my Mondays around my stream. I usually stream another once or twice during the week as well, but Monday is my designated. I always stream Mondays. I have not missed many Mondays in 5 years. I can probably count them on one hand. Well, I should say my regular stream time. I did change my regular stream time. It was another day. I changed it to Monday. But, I pretty much, I try to be consistent in my streaming days. So I usually always stream Monday, and I almost say always. I mean, like if we go on vacation or something, but otherwise I try to stream once again during the week. So over the top Wednesdays, yeah. But anyway, so Monday I'll stream sometimes right up to 3 o'clock. Jean streams at 4, so I usually have to make a big salad on Mondays and watch at least an hour of Jean. So I'm usually done by 4, so I have time to upload the videos. All right, enough chatting, more arting. So I'm going to go ahead and get out a couple shades. I'm going to kind of base my colors on this, not necessarily have to match, like I might do the mushroom purple, but I'm going to do his outfit some olive greens, maybe, maybe do, that's a little red poppy, but maybe we'll turn it into something yellow. I don't know. So I'm going to put out, squirted out way too much. That's why we need our desk journals. I want a little bit of that green and a little bit, probably a little bit of, and I don't know what I'm going to put on the background. The whole background is going to be painted out, right? Or pretty much. So let's go with that green and maybe just a little bit of antique. Now that might be too blue. Well, we can blend it. Maybe just a little bit of antique teal, just a little bit darker green there. So I got a couple shades of green. Now I want to get out a kind of a lemony yellow. This is called cad yellow. So I want a cad yellow. And let's see what else. Probably a little bit of an orange, maybe not that orange. Let's go with a raw sienna. raw sienna. And this is also a good way for you to practice matching colors. I mean, I have a lot of Americana colors. I love Americana. No, I'm not sponsored by them or anything, but I love my Americana paints. These are my favorite craft paints, and I like them because of the consistency, but because they have the best colors that I like. They have the colors I like. Yeah, and remember when I'd have to go from room to room to find a good connection? Yeah, I have streamed from every room in my house at one time or another. Those aren't on YouTube. Those are from back in the early Ustream days. But yeah. So thanks everybody for being here. And hey, Pat. I mean, so Pat. Pat. I'm looking at Mew and Pat, and I was thinking Pat and Mew came out as Pat. Okay, so let me get. Let's see here. I want to get a brush, and I don't use any particular kind or brand. I use just cheap craft brushes. I have a couple of more expensive liner brushes in my collection, and I do have nice expensive oil painting brushes that are in a wrap, in a roll, that are put away. I don't use those on my craft projects, craft paint projects. Um, but I don't really oil paint anymore either. But at the same time, any brushes, they may not last forever, as long as I clean them well in between. I have a big. I know it's going to look like. Don't judge me. Here's my. It is clean water. It's actually clean water in there, but this is one of those little tubs of water thing, that for your brushes. And I keep it like this, and I set it on top of a wad of paper towels like this. So when you hear me cleaning my brushes, you hear me doing this, and then I come out on the paper towel and dab it off. That's how I clean and dry. So it's still damp, but it's not wet. So this sits right over here next to me, and that's what I do. I clean my brushes, damp them off, and then you know, I don't know if anybody needed to know that, but there you go. And I also keep on the lid, I keep a bunch of sponges for stenciling or whatever. And yeah, so that is my water setup. I know doesn't look pretty, but hey, it's clean water and it works, right? All right, so all right, so I'm going to move him a little closer here, and let me just get a small brush. Yeah, let's go with this one. Yeah, the old ASMRs when I would clean my brush. Yeah, okay. So, all right, so now I'm going to just get a little bit of water. Again, I want to wash, right? So I'm just going to go ahead and start with, I'm just really, I mean, this is way more paint than I'll need. But I just get a little bit of water on my brush and just pull out a little bit here. You got to keep, if you want to use this in a color book page, right? In a color book page, you want it translucent. You want to still be able to see your lines. When I'm doing an art card, I'll pick up a wad of paint like that, right? Big old wad of paint, and blend it all with my finger. But when you're doing a color book page, you got to have it watered down. Otherwise, you're going to lose all the lines and detail. And I will just paint over the bulk of it. For instance, I'm going to paint over all the stitching. And again, if you want it darker and layered up, don't do more than like that much. Don't do more than that much without drying it first, because if you don't, it's going to start tearing and pilling. Where are my glue brushes? My glue brushes I keep in another Folgers, and I do need to add some water to it. This is my glue brushes. Okay, now that I see I need to add water to it, these are the only brushes I keep in water. And there's all different sizes. And when a brush gets really bad and I can't really use it for painting anymore, it gets turned into a glue brush. But since you brought this to my attention, Terry, excuse me just a moment while I go add some water to this. Okay, so I added some water to my glue brush bucket. Let me put that back up on the shelf. I keep it totally separate. I keep that little bucket totally separate from my other brushes so I don't mix them up. I don't want glue in my paint, right? So you're welcome. All right, so where's my brush? Okay, so now I'm going to go back again, and now I'm going to just keep on. I'll kind of try to hold some of it up in the air. But you see, I'm just going over the stitching, and I don't really mind if it gets a little bit out of lines or anything like that, because all that can be adjusted. Now, you can be more careful than me. It can be more adjusted with color pencil and things like that. You're welcome, Trouble Terry. Okay, here's a good example. See his little boots or his little shoes? See how it's got the little, I'm going to make those brown laces, but I don't mind just painting right over that, those little brown laces for now, and we'll go back and shade with pencil or color in little areas. And also, let me show you this. Since we're cutting this out, look, just color the whole, you don't have to worry about going out of lines because we're going to cut it all out, right? So if I want this darker, then before I add more color to it, I'm going to want to dry it. Because if I dry it, I can go ahead and put another layer on there. But don't be putting too much water on your color book pages in one fell swoop. Dry this. All right, let me show you. I'm going to dry it. And now I can add another layer of wash. Let's do this boot that's kind of behind that one. See? I don't know if you can see. Then I can add another layer on top and make it darker, just like you would a watercolor painting. But I don't have to worry about it tearing. Let me see if you can see that. See? I don't have to worry about it tearing because it's dry. Bye, Peggy. Happy birthday tomorrow. All right, so let me go ahead and do his little hat too. He's going to be color coordinated since he's got all the same stitching. He's got all the same stitch. And again, you don't have to be careful about getting out of lines because you're going to cut it out. So you can really get through this pretty quickly, a wash of things pretty quickly, because yeah. No, he's not going to have, well, I guess he could have green skin, but he's going to look kind of sick. He'll look sickly. I did his clothes. I'm trying to think what's another good color. I'm not really up on my elf skin. Elf skin. You know, if I do him yellow, I kind of, you know, because you like to have the fairies and the elves and everything like camouflaged. You like them to look like they're hidden, you know. And I think what I'm going to do too is I'm going to have him sitting on the sunflower, so I'm not going to even use the mushroom. I'm not going to use the mushroom. Well, see, I was thinking some brown or you know, like the sienna color. Let's go with the, you know, the, what color was it exactly? The raw sienna. I was thinking of using the raw sienna on his, like, undershirt here and his pants. Because I'm going to try to make him almost look camouflaged. Soft blue. Well, of course I could do just regular skin color, you know. But I'm not sure what color, not really quite sure what color to do a, and so you can just go right off the edge. Don't worry about, going out of lines. So I just put a layer of the brown, the sienna, over the whole thing. Now I'm going to dry that before I put another layer to darken it up. The right knee is green. Well, look at his pants, though. Yeah. Oh, well, you know what well, hey, that's true. I see what you're talking about. His pants should, like the boot comes over the knee on this knee, but it doesn't come over the knee on that knee. I see what you're saying, but, you know, I'm just following the color book page. But, yeah, I could paint that one green or paint that brown. So let's go ahead and paint this one brown then. So does that make y'all happier? So let's go ahead and just darken up the, oh, let me dry it first. If I start darkening it too much, it's going to tear the paper. So I see what you're saying. Okay, so he's got on tights and then he's got on shorts too. So I need to color his shorts a green. So let's go in there with well, just a little bit, different shade. It's still going to be that olivey color. So he's got shorts, tights, and boots. Yeah. He's got boots, tights, and shorts. And then he's got like a shirt and a vest. Okay, now we got to decide. We have to decide on the skin. I think we got his outfit sorted, guys. I think we got it sorted. He's got his boots, his tights, and his shorts. Alrighty. Yeah, y'all happy now? Okay. Now let's see. What color should we do his skin? Yeah, we can do him. Let's do him a dark skin color. Let's see. But I don't want it the same color as his clothes. I want it a different shade. Let's do a different shade. Let me find a pretty brown. Let's go with burnt umber. So we'll go with the burnt umber. And again, I'm going to water it down. Let's water it down so that we don't want to lose the color book lines, right? All right, now with color pencil though, we can fix anything, but I'm going to make him like a dark skins. And we're going to shade with color pencil, but in the meantime, we'll have our little elf. With this, let's do his little hands. Whoop, got a little bit too much. Need to water it down. And see, look, I don't have to worry about just go right over the whole thing, right? Because I'm going to cut it out. So it doesn't matter about going out of lines. There we go. All right, now let me dry it so I can put another layer on there. A smurf. Y'all wanted me to make him blue. And let me go ahead and dry the back too, just so I don't want this paper water soaked. Okay, so now I can go back in there with a little bit more shade. Again, keep it light, keep it easy here. And then I'll go in there, of course, with color pencil, and we'll do more. Let's go right over there. There we go. Cute. Cute, cute. All right, let me, the flower, do I want it another color, or do I want it to kind of blend or stand out? I think I'm going to go with yellow. I'm just going to go ahead and go with just a general yellow there. Okay. All right, let me dry everything again, then I'll cut them out. Well, actually, it's going to be easier if we do shading before I cut them out. But, it's going to be totally up to you. As far as moving things around and working on him, it's going to be easier before he's cut out. Once he's cut out, you got to be a little bit more careful. So let's just go ahead and work on him. Let me go ahead and I'm going to zoom in a little bit more. Let's refocus. Come on, focus, focus. Okay. so you can see a little bit of the coloring process. I'll tell you, she's got a crush on Jazza. What can I say? Okay, so now I'm going to move all this stuff off the page for now. Could always add more stuff here if we need to, but right now I'm just going to bring over my pencils. And see, this is the kind of stuff that's good to use in your desk journal. Okay, let me go in and do that so you can see no fear. Where's my journal? So I showed y'all earlier on part one, let me grab one, that Kelly had gifted me another one of the leather journals. This is the one of the ones I've used before. You can see how I've used it and how thick it gets and different bits of leftover. So here's some leftover paint, stencil, scrape paint, and then this is the only part that I think I've really actually painted with the little pyramids. Maybe, I don't know, maybe I kind of blended out the mountain there. I don't remember now. But this is leftover paint, sprays, whatever, in one of my, I just call it a desk journal, right? Kelly, I guess, saw that I use these a lot. I've got, quite a few stacks of them. But she sent me a new one. So look at the difference in the size. Well, it's going to be hard to see. Here's a new one and here's an old one, okay? So we are going to bust out the new one. Wait for it. So I'm going to get a palette knife. We're going to open up the journal at a random page, and we're going to take some of the green paints and we're going to start smearing some in. This may end up being a landscape. It may end up being, who knows. I'm going to put a couple rows. Now you got to let this dry before you close it, right? So, yeah, this is our new desk journal. I'll pick up some of the yellow and the brown. Maybe we'll go add, and right now I'm kind of thinking landscape, but it may or may not end up being a landscape by the time we're done on another day. But you can see how you can use up. What I'm doing is I'm using up that paint. I'm using up that paint in a journal, as I call it, my desk journal. We could end up adding some collage to it later. All right, so now I'm going to pick up some more yellow. Let's put some yellow up in the sky. Doesn't have to be with the palette knife. That's just quick. You could then, let me just set that there to hold it. You can take a baby wipe. Depending on how much time you have, how much time you want to take. Okay, just take a baby wipe and say blend in. Pick up the rest of that yellow and get a full-on sky in here. Okay? Something like that. Could blend out some more of this. So this is what you do with your leftover paint. Stuff like this. Okay? So no fear. If you're afraid of your books, you're never going to use them. Remember, you're the boss of your art journal and your color book pages. What I usually do is on the ends. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I'll close the book after this is dry, and I'll do a color on all the edge. So there. So that's all I'm going to do on this. We might add some clocks later, or who knows. But I used up a bulk of my paint. Now I still have some dark green there. Let me go ahead and add a little bit of that. I have some dark green in here. Let me just go ahead and put some of that in there too. And again, you can take a baby wipe and, manipulate the paint, leave some light, some dark. Maybe this is going to come down here. Maybe that'll be a tree. Who knows? Maybe this will turn into a tree. Let's get dark brown. Maybe there's going to be a tree right here eventually. We'll see. Yeah, feed your journals paint. I like that. I like that silver. I'm going to write that down in the Wingnut book. Now let me set this aside. I don't want it to close up and glue together, right? So you want to let that dry. Where's my pen? Got to write that down. Feed your journals paint. I like that. silver. And we're going to throw that in the wingnut book. For those of y'all that don't know, our wingnut book is just a bunch, because we're a bunch of wingnuts around here. It's just a bunch of quick quotes and funny sayings that people say. I throw them on a Post-it note, and they go in here. Bam! Yeah. Okay, so let's move the paint out of the way. All right, so let's go back over here. He's dry. Let me move this out of the way because I don't want to get all this paint all over the... See, I'm already getting it all over the place, so I want to kind of... Let me clean my hands. Alrighty. And after we get done coloring, I'll move back out a little bit so we can see the whole page again. Thanks everybody for being here. What time is it? Okay, so now I think we're going to have to go ahead and go into part 2 because I want to try to keep them about an hour for easy download purposes. So I'm going to go ahead and stop this here, and we'll call it Mixed Media Elf. Okay, so hang on guys, and I'll be right back.